Hi, I'm Kylie King. Welcome to Magnolia Capital, round one of the Australian Motor Racing Series. This weekend we're at Sydney Motorsport Park, and what a destination for our season opener, because some races will be happening under lights. Think glowing disc brakes and exhaust flames, especially heading into turn one. It will all add to the atmosphere and the action. To tell us more, we say g'day to our series manager, Matt Baragwana. What an exciting addition to the series, Racing Under Lights.
Oh, Kylie, can I tell you how excited we are about being here this weekend? We've worked very hard in the off-season to obviously be able to produce this event here this weekend. We've got some fantastic categories with a combined grid of Super GT and New South Wales Prodsports cars of 19 cars, which is just fantastic. We're very excited. Ta2, again, another 19 or so cars with them. National Formula Ford Series, the debut of the Enduro Champs category here as well. So we're very excited to be able to deliver that here this weekend. And what we're even more excited about is tonight's night race, both for GT and Ta2. As you very rightfully say, to see some of those glowing disc brakes down going into turn one tonight, we're very excited.
Well, there's plenty to get through this weekend. Let's get into the action.
And what a fantastic venue this is to open up an incredible new 2021 Promaxx Performance Exhaust Ta2 Muscle Car Series, Sydney Motorsport Park, and Brian van der Wacker. These cars are going to eat this place alive.
They certainly will, Wade. It's been a long wait to finally get to this stage, but here we are, Sydney Motorsport Park. The wait is finally over, but let's learn a little bit more about this particular category.
That magnificent sound as they storm down into turn one. Look at that field. It is absolutely jammed. This is on. They all look so fat, these things, and I mean PHAT. The Ta2 Muscle Car Series, thumping.
It's the same spec car. Every car is identical underneath the body. Costs are down because of that. We can bulk buy from our suppliers. We've got guys that have come from all different categories that have come to Ta2 because they can understand the cost savings involved with the same spec cars. It's not who's got the most money can win. It's who's the best driver, who's the best team to set up a car. These cars have been raced in America for a number of years as a similar package to this. We took all of the good parts out of that and added a more cost-effective engine, which is now made by McLaren. McLaren build all of our engines for our Ta2 cars now.
They'll do 3 years on the current engine combo if they're maintained and looked after well. The gearboxes, diffs, everything's built to last. I mean, as long as you look after the stuff as well as you can racing the car, they're very durable. They're purpose-built for what they do.
I'll tell you, there's not one guy gets in one of these cars that complains about the horsepower or the bang for buck. I can tell you, everybody gets out with a smile on their face.
Yeah, we've got a brand new purpose-built spares truck that carries tyres, diffs, gearboxes, engines, all auxiliary components that are required, taken to all tracks and all rounds that we currently have on our combo.
I think Ta2 Racing is one of the best kept secrets in Australian motorsport. Very, very easy to get into. They are fantastic cars. And one of the great things, it's a big bang for buck. It's noisy, it's fast, it's fun and cheap.
We've signed up with Chaz Howard now for another 10 years of supply of motor vehicles. We're now taking Ta2 to New Zealand. We have a contract with the New Zealand guys there. They're starting to pick up on Ta2 cars, so we hope to do some trans-Tasman competition, as well as inviting the Kiwi drivers over to race at our events and vice versa. So 2021, we're looking forward to some good meetings and lots of cars out on track.
They look, they sound, and they feel fantastic. The Ta2 Muscle Car Series, and it was all about Nathan Hearn, this whiz kid from Lismore, setting the fastest time in qualifying by over a second in a borrowed car. Hello, Brian. How good is this kid?
Incredible, wasn't it? It's his second pole in the category, his last one dating back to October in 2020 at Sandown as part of the Victorian State of Origin event. Not only that, he picks up a cool $500 thanks to PWR Performance Products and, of course, the Pole Award. Let's catch up with him now after that incredible effort in qualifying.
Yeah, it's been good. To have an opportunity to jump into Rusty's car is good. To any time I can get my bum in the seat is always a good time. So it's a good team to be a part of, and yeah, look, I'm looking forward to the rest of the weekend. Hopefully we can last for the 30-minute race tonight and see how we go.
Let's take a look at highlights of race number 1 here at Sydney Motorsport Park. I love these rolling starts. And just listen to this when they take off. Oh, that does strange things to me, Brian. What a magnificent sound as we unleash them down into turn 1.
It's going to be something, isn't it? A long race ahead for these drivers. The opening race of the weekend, got to get the cobwebs out as well. It's been a long off-season, but here we are, already action deep in the pack.
Squirming around on the Hoosiers, Max Dumsney, Australian motorsport legend, provides the racing rubber for these cars. We're on board the motorsport sales entry, the 40 car of Nash Morris. And this kid is going to ruffle a few feathers, I reckon, this weekend.
I think so. We saw him in the thick of action a moment ago, and here he is once again looking down the inside, making another move up through the field, making his debut in the category this weekend. Of course, the son of a gun, Paul Morris, former Bathurst 1000 winner, also winner of the 12-hour and 6-hour too. But I tell you what, he's got some great techniques, doesn't he? Back on board again as cars going literally everywhere at the moment, Wayne.
So good to watch. They squirm, they've got a lot of horsepower, they've got minimal aero. It's just a fantastic concept, this Ta2 Muscle Car Series. We go on board with Nash. He squirms up the inside of the 21 car of Zach Luscialpo. And this has been a stirring drive for Nathan Hearn, looking solid in race 1. We kind of expected that. Borrowed car, and what a drive in race 1. Is this the trend for the weekend? So day goes into night here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and it is race number 2 of the Promaxx Performance Exhaust Ta2 Muscle Car Series. Brian van der Wacker joining me. These cars, there is so much to love about them. We're on board there with Mark Crutcher. Big cockpits, big engines, big tyres, plenty of action.
It's going to be great, isn't it? And how good do the cars look under lights as we have a look at the starting grid for race number 2. The results of race 1 as well. Nathan Hearn to start from pole, Tim Shaw alongside him. That's going to be a great battle into turn 1.
I've been following this category since it started. I've got to say, I've never seen a better looking field this year. Everybody has put in a massive effort. Cool to see Barry Kelleher in this field as well. A former Speedway late model sedan driver and also pretty handy on a road racing motorbike. The veteran enjoying the class. Here's the extreme opposite. Nash Morris, the teenager, about to have a rip in a class field under lights. It looks like the Singapore Grand Prix, Brian.
Just about, not quite the glitz and the glamour though, isn't it? As we rear into turn number 1, 17 laps. And look at this, on board already with Cheney through turn number 1, down into turn number 2. Gets his way up into second there. Great start though once again from Nathan Hearn.
Good field. You're watching race 2, round 1. The championship, of course, heads in April, mid-April, to Morgan Park in Queensland, where it's also had a fair bit of excitement in the past. But on board with Anthony Tenkate in the Tenkate plant hire. Number 69, can't see them squirm under load. Hearn has bolted. No real surprises there. Tim Shaw has been solid. He finished up in second in race number 1. Here he is, driving a borrowed car. Unfortunately, the car owner, a bit of a crash before Christmas on a bike. And he got in the car from the weekend, but thought, I don't feel comfortable in the car, Russell. I'm going to give it to someone like Nathan Hearn to wheel it. And hasn't he grabbed that opportunity?
It's incredible, isn't it, how he just steps in and drives the thing and takes pole position, and then obviously the opening race as well. And now already streaking the field here in race number 2. Shaw already having to be defensive. I tell you what, the pack is starting to really bunch up behind Shaw in this battle for second spot.
Just the sound, it just does it. The cars look, oh, hello. Last of the late breakers, as the great Luffy would say from back in the day. Warren Luff's very famous dad always used to say, the last of the late breakers, Ian Luff. They just look great under lights. I know what you said about not quite the glitz and glamours of Singapore Grand Prix, but it sounds better.
Yeah, true. It does certainly sound better. You're 100% right as we ride on board again here with Nash Morris, the run to turn 1. Looking for the slipstream here as well. Thinks about it. Might be a little bit too far back here for the lunge down the inside. Look at the car squirming as he fights the wheel through turn number 1. The long left-hander here. He's stuck in a bit of a pack here, but he's looking towards the inside again. We're almost 3 wide here for a moment. Contact as well. Geez, the elbows are out early here. Michael
Coulter under enormous pressure from Nash Morris. There's the Tempest Solutions, number 21 of Zach Luscialpo. We look back on board Michael Coulter, and he's got a mirror full of a very enthusiastic young Queenslander who looks now to the inside, back to the outside. It's a busy race. Race number 2, under lights. I think Nash is keen.
keen to say the least, isn't he, as he comes through the back of the circuit here and down the wall. Oh no, they make contact, and unfortunately Coulter collects the inside wall. I can't help but thinking maybe there was a little bit of a helping hand there as well. Heavy damage to the left-hand side of that race car too.
The Capelco entry in the tyre bundles. Nash Morris continuing on in the motorsport sales entry. Let's look at the replay here. This is the start. This is Tim Shaw. I love the telemetry too. Have a look at the speed. Climbing up to 180 kilometres an hour into turn 1 off the start. Thank you very much. Shaw went back to third on that. We'll take a look at your Promaxx replay. Now, what's this going to tell us?
Not much, does it? Just on the outside of the shot there, but look at this contact. Heavy impact there with the tyre barrier on the left. Right on board here with Nash. This will give us a little bit more of an understanding as to what happened. Coulter on the outside, on board here with Nash. There's a bit of a case to answer there, I think, to say the least, for Nash Morris. Riding on board here with Coulter. Good shot here of the rear. You might even be able to hear the dink here in a moment. There it is. And listen to this impact. Oh, it sounds nasty, doesn't it?
Yeah, Michael, he'd be as dark as the car park right now because that was an unload crutcher in that very cool looking 4-car. Oh, I'm not kidding, they all look cool. Steve Lacey, I do love the purple Dodge. The Wagner entry, the Wagner Corp Dodge looks absolutely mint as we go on board the Has Sold Motorsport number 27 of Graham Smith. You made a point earlier on, they don't have headlights, these cars, but the lighting is so good here at Sydney Motorsport Park, they kind of don't need them.
That's right, they're like a race car with stickers, aren't they? We know that's saved from NASCAR, obviously. We do have the brake lights, though, in these cars. You'll see them light up on the way to turn number 2. Riding on board here with Graham Smith.
Do you think we saw them on Morris's car? Really? I'm not sure that Nash had the brake lights on at that point. Smith into turn 1. We looked at that before. 200 k's an hour. If you look down that bottom right-hand corner, 200 at the end of this enormous straightaway at Sydney Motorsport Park. Oh, Lacey! A little aggressive, locked him up, and if she turned hard right, that would have been an interesting view for Smith behind him.
What a shame there for Lacey, making his debut in the category this weekend. Normally runs in the New South Wales Sports and ends in that beautiful yellow Chevrolet Camaro, so a little bit of a different car here for him at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah, he's driving, of course, to the Peter Robinson entry. This will look great on the replay. Have a look at this for Graham Smith's perspective. He's barreling down into turn 2, and all of a sudden, he sees Lacey go to the inside hard on the brakes, and then, oh, that was close.
That's one of the difficult things about these Ta2 cars, trying to get them stopped. They move around a lot under brakes. You can just see he probably just pinches the rear tyres a little bit. And around he goes down there at turn number 2. He's going to lose a bunch of time from that as well.
Peter Robinson would have been here driving that car, but they've got some big plans at the moment with the Wagner family, the Wellcamp Entertainment Precinct, $175 million project, including a motorsport driving facility, an entertainment area as well. It's going to be huge. Look out. Nash Morris ripping up the inside here.
What a charge he's on at the moment. Didn't get the best start, did he? He's been in a little bit of carnage and controversy so far in this race as well, but he's making his way up through the field then, getting past Lachalpo. Lachalpo's going to look sort of back toward the inside here. Not quite, though, enough. And Morris...
Oh! He gave it back to him, though, out of that turn. So Lachalpo not going to be an easy contender here. Was there a sale on green paint, do you think, at the start of the season, Brian? There's a lot of mean-looking green.
Green's normally an unlucky colour for a race car, isn't it? But they're not doing too bad at the moment. I tell you someone who's doing a really nice job in this race at the moment, Anthony Tencoat. We're right on board with him at the moment. Started in position number 9, making his way up towards the top 5 here at the moment as well. So this 69 car doing a really good job so far in this second race, but he's got some traffic here in front of him right now.
Oh, that sound. Just listen to this.
This is where the battle started.
How's the wheel work?
Yeah, I know.
There too.
With Lachalpo. So Morris gets down the inside here in the run to turn number 1. I just love the sound. Look at it. Up on the wheel here through turn number 1. Then obviously there was a bit of afters down there at turn number 2 as well.
I'd love to see the dude in the Enforcer analyse that that race pass earlier on the earlier incident in the Cabelco entry.
Issues here for Lachalpo. He's pulling in. Unfortunately, and I'm hearing possibly that it might be a gear shift issue in that car, so frustration and disappointment for Zach Lachalpo, doing such a nice job running inside the top 5, but unfortunately he's out of this one, and that gives another spot here now to Anthony Tencoat as well.
April coming up April 16 to 18. Going to be a massive weekend for the second round of the AMRS, which doubles, of course, as the Promaxx Performance Exhaust Ta2 Muscle Car Series round number 2. And Morgan Park is a great little circuit for these cars. 10K on the hammer down to this right-hander just here. Great looking car.
He's been sort of one of the stalwarts in the category, of course. Anthony 10K, been there really since day dot. Made his debut in the category back in 2017 at Lakeside, round number 1 for that particular year. Can't get enough of Nash Morris at the moment, can you? Certainly making headlines here for the opening round of the Ta2 Series for 2021.
I'm sure that Michael Coulter can get enough of him, but no, he's certainly putting on a show like his old man. We love a bit of colour and a bit of controversy. He always goes hand in hand with the Morris family, and the dude will be saying, what? What's the problem?
Gotta love the Morris family, don't you? They've had some history in Australian motorsport over the years, and Nash Morris will certainly follow that trend in the years to come. 17
years of age, having a fair crack. Came out of Hyundais, I'm pretty sure. Interesting kind of way to morph into Ta2 muscle cars. Listen to that sound. We're right on board with the Teenage Ranger here. The motorsportsales.com.au entry. Can he make that stick? Oh, there was contact then again! Well, that was interesting. So, at least there's plenty of room to fire off onto the lawn. But Cheney will be filthy.
It'd be dark as what, Wade? 2 a.m?
As the car park right now at Sydney Motorsport Park. But, well, that's at 200 k's an hour too, mind you.
Fastest board of the racetrack. Here it is on board from Nash Morris. Little tag in the rear. And because these cars are so light sometimes under brakes, they move so much in the rear end, it doesn't take much to spin these cars around. You can see just the lightest of taps on board here. Now with the 51 as well. Oh, just got the wheel work. And around he goes. Listen to it as well as he goes back down the gears too.
Fortunately, there's a fair bit of runoff down there in turn 1 on the grass, but well, it is all happening. We now check out the 66 car of Tim Shaw. He's under a fair bit of pressure now from a young man who's fairly charging. And the teenager has a look up the inside as well. Hold on tight, Tim. You're in the crosshairs.
This could be anything, couldn't it, as they work their way back down the main straight. Morris just off the edge of the racetrack there as well. Tim Shaw, the only Tasmanian car in the field for round number 1 here. He last competed at Sandown, believe it or not. Really the only event he could do last year, being Tasmanian. Obviously a lot of restrictions regarding borders last year. I tell you what, he's doing a nice job at the moment. He's having to hold off one of the hardest young chargers in the field right now. Shaw locks up, opens the door. Morris, thank you very much. It's like Christmas Day straight down the inside.
All we need is Tony Longhurst to be out there for Nash as well, and we can really relive some history. So nice job on that particular occasion. And the youngster sweeping down to this right-hander. We have a look at our Promaxx replay as you picked. Shaw got a little bit loose under brakes, squirmed. Just watch it go deep into the corner here and then lock up and then straight through. That's just pressure is what that is. Pressure from Morris. Nice clean pass on that occasion.
Here we go, half a lap to go. Nathan Hearn, what a tremendous drive again, mate.
His kid is his dad, I should say, is one of the all-time greats of V8 Dirt Modified Racing, Stuart the Hitman Hearn. And this kid is amazing. The S5000 situation with Gary Rogers Motorsport, he drives the Trans Am for them as well. Was one of the hottest properties in Australian motor racing. Oh yeah, look at that for a little bit of tail out as well. And runs it home. Oh, I guess we're not looking after the tyres for the final race.
What a drive. Nathan Hearn gets the win. His 13th win in the category. Believe it or not, the margin of victory is near enough to 40 seconds back to Nash Morris. A wonderful drive. Morris will get his best result in the category in position number 2, not without drama though.
Will he though?
Yeah.
I wonder whether the officials might take a bit of a dim view of the enthusiasm, but hey, right now, if it ships, it fits. Nice job. Hearn, Morris, Shaw, 10K, Graham Smith, Chris Pappas, Murray Kent, Graham Cheney maybe to get himself back up there as well. It was all happening in race 2 for the Promaxx Performance Exhaust Ta2 muscle cars.
Yeah, thank you. No, it was awesome. It's been a privilege to drive this car. I mean, you know, coming from my car where, you know, you muscle around and it's a real soft car and you drive one of these things, it's feels a lot like a supercar, this thing to drive, so it's a real breeze to drive. You know, I mean, credit to Rusty and his team for setting up a car like this. It's one of the best cars I've driven, and yeah, you know, it's a real privilege to be down here this weekend, and I'm just glad I could get a good result for Rusty Wright Racing.
So after all the excitement on the Saturday night, the boys were back at it again Sunday morning for race 3 and race 4, and that is the Begg-owned Nash Morris car. The boys were having at it back on a beautiful Sunday morning. What better way to start your Sunday than the sound of a throaty field of V8s in Ta2 muscle cars. Now, Smith, unfortunately, loops it right up the front too, Brian, and fortunately got missed. That could have been ugly.
Running third at the time, wasn't he? Nathan Hearn, though, another brilliant start in the Russell Wright-owned number 55 machine. But a little bit of drama here, though, Wade.
A little bit of drama. This is Cheney and Shaw. Now, there's several touch-ups here and then. That's a massive, massive impact. So between Cheney and Shaw, two totally impacted race cars, which brought out the safety car, which basically handed the win to Nathan Hearn. So another win for him, and it set up an exciting 4th and final race for the weekend in round 1 of the Promaxx Performance Exhaust Ta2 Muscle Car Series.
So it's right off the pole, Morris alongside him on the front row as they went into turn number 1. And it was great, wasn't it? This battle for position number 1. Morris working over the race leader, and just around the back of Corporate Hill, down the inside, Nash Morris, his debut weekend in the category, fights for the race lead, ultimately gets the job done. And look at this, not much Nathan could do around the outside there. He had the inside line here for the right-hand hairpin, but Morris was just brilliant around the outside.
A lot of talk that Nathan Hearn actually went for only 4 tyres for the weekend. Nash went to, well, as he is wont to do, 6 tyres. It may have been a bit of a difference, but Nash was superb in that 4th and final race. And look at him, he's absolutely elated, the young man. His debut win here in Ta2.
Yeah, thank you. It was real good. First time racing here at Ta2 Racing Australia. Yeah, had a good time. You know, I didn't think I'd be that far up the grid, but, you know, I'm happy with it.
Oh, look, we had a quick car all weekend, so it's a credit to the right team. You know, it was a privilege to drive our car this weekend, and I'm honoured that I got the chance to drive this weekend.
Fantastic stuff from the Ta2 Muscle Car Series. Can't wait for their next round at Morgan Park on April 16 and 18. We'll take a break here. When we come back, it's time for the 2021 Motorsport Sales Enduro Champs action, so don't go away. Welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park, and it is time for Enduro Champs action. Brian van der Wacker, a cracking weekend here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and a compact but exciting field for this one.
4 one-hour races for the Enduro Champs this weekend, and looking forward to this one. Grant Sharon will start the Sharon Rentals BMW from position number 1 by virtue of winning the opening race of the weekend. Some teams and drivers running a 2-driver combination as well. They're splitting that over the course of the 4 races. Grant Sharon in the car for this one. Tim Lay in the car. He will share that as well with Beric Linton over the course of the weekend. We're going to start on board here with Tim Lay as well.
Some of these guys have been around the sport a long, long time. Plenty of experience. Beric Linton too, building a lot of the cars across the weekend. What a rocket ship start on the outside just then.
Great, wasn't it? And Tim Lay also making his way through the field. I tell you what, he had to stand on the anchors there for a moment to not hit the back of the Sharon Rentals BMW. So a big moment there off the start for Tim Lay. Lucky to get away with that one.
Remember too, this is highlights of a 1-hour race. That was fairly frantic. I always associate Beric Linton with a BMW brand. Across the years, he's been heavily involved. Now, Camilleri in the Grand Prix, in the Mazda, is a fierce combination around this racetrack in particular.
Yeah, Jake Camilleri likes this particular track as well for that BMW car. The Grand Prix Mazda-backed Mazda 3 is just sitting behind Tim Lade there at the moment as well, looking towards the inside here. He might be half a chance, not quite close enough, but being a front-wheel drive car and a little bit more performance in it, it does sometimes tend to hurt the front tyres, particularly around fast-flowing circuit like Sydney Motorsport Park, but these shorter, compact 1-hour races certainly does suit him.
On board with Lay. This thing is all sorts of a handful right now, early in the race. Corporate Hill, man, this thing has got his attention. Have a look at the wheel work. What a battle for third.
They're on the MRF tyres, and I know they've been struggling with the setup of this car all weekend, and that's absolutely, you can see that at the moment in this race. They certainly are struggling. Steve Ellery, now this is a great story because he's got his 2 sons racing with him this weekend.
Yeah, and I think it's really ignited Steve's passion for going racing again. He's been around the game a long time as well, and I say that with respect, one of the most experienced and capable drivers on any circuit, in any class, and having his boys race with him, that has got to be, I think, just igniting his fire a little further.
Yeah, Tristan and Dalton were nominated to run at the start of the weekend as well. Change for the lead, so Grant Sharon has taken over the race lead, and now Tim Lay is in hot pursuit in position number 2 as well. But of course, he's got to try and settle that race car down as they continue to struggle with the overall balance on those MRF tyres.
I like this. They're moving around quite a bit. That name Sharon is just iconic in Australian motor racing as well. Been around the game a long time. The investment that family have put into the sport over so many years cannot be underestimated as we look at that Berwick Linton entry with Lay behind the wheel. And Ellery still firing in that 3rd spot.
Yeah, Grant and Sharon have done some miles together, haven't they? They absolutely love their car racing, and it's great to have them back at Sydney Motorsport Park as Jake Ellery here working on the back, looking up to get into position number 3 here as well. You look towards possibly the insides. They go around the back of Corporate Hill. It's Volkswagen v Mazda at the moment. They work their way around the backside of the circuit. Nice little battle though, the top 4 pretty close already. Yeah,
UCell just there. Nice little job in that number 50 car, the V-Dub. Very potent little race car, no doubt about that. And that's an interesting battle. Gorgeous looking Sharon Rentals Beamer out in front from Lay in that Berwick Linton car, because we have co-drivers. That's the way that it works. We believe UCell is in that car right now, the Double J entry. The V-Dub under a lot of pressure now. Just watching to see whether Ellery can make that run in the Mazda. He's openly admitted this is one of his favourite tracks, and it really does suit the Grand Prix Mazda.
Certainly does. Final 2 corners on the track here at the moment. The front-wheel drive car of that Mazda 3 will have possibly, if he gets a good drive out of here, a lunge towards turn number 1. If he gets the drive, not bad either. He'll sit in the slipstream here for a moment and try and maybe cut towards the inside at turn number 1. But the other opportunity is going to be down to turn number 2. But look at the legs on that Volkswagen, certainly pulling away down the main straight.
You're watching round 1 of the AMRS, the Australian Motor Racing Series. 6 rounds ahead of us. This is the opener here at Sydney Motorsport Park and motorsportsales.com.au. Enduro Champs now. Ellery manages to squeeze through on the Volkswagen as they come out of turn number 2. And that's a nice run from him.
We mentioned turn 2 being a possible passing opportunity. That's exactly what happened. Riding on board here with Tim Lay. Getting up into second there a while ago, and then this was the move for position number 3. Ellery down the inside, under brakes at the left-hander at turn number 2, and gets the job done. Now, we always talk about tyres. We spoke about them a moment ago being MRF on the Tim Lay car. Well, there's actually 4 different brands that these teams and drivers can actually use, because it's actually open for this particular class, the Enduro Champs. They can use any one of 4 of the R-Spec tyres from either Dunlop, Yokohama, MRF or Zeknova. So a nice opportunity there for the drivers to run what they feel, because a lot of these drivers do like, obviously, the different brands sometimes suit their cars better.
Once again, a big wriggle up from Lay, really pushing super hard. In fact, heading to the pits. So this is looking for a driver change at this point. In comes the Sharon car as well. As we said, these are 1-hour Enduros over the course of the weekend. And man, that was a fairly aggressive charge towards pit lane then from Tim Lay.
It was, wasn't it? So 1 compulsory pit stop in these 4-hour races. They don't have to do a driver change, but they will elect to later on in the weekend. So what they've done is they've actually nominated 1 driver pretty well for these opening 2 races, but we believe, particularly for races 2 and 3, they will actually split the driving duty. So it's all up to the teams as to what they particularly want to do. Good battle going on here at the moment, as well as Ellery looks like he's come out behind the Burgess entry, the Mitsubishi Evo there. And back on board with Tim Lay. This car has been sideways the entire race. They're not wrong about struggling on the balance of this thing. Tim Lay is going to sleep well after this race, because he has had his arms full with this BMW.
The Bruce Linton BMW service entry. Nice little scrap developing here. Burgess. You've also got UCell in the middle of all this, and now Ellery. Gorgeous day for it here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Isn't it just so good to have some racing again? Oh, now was he saying thank you, or was that find yourself another way home? Either way, it was a fairly animated wave. Heading towards the business end of this Enduro Champs. Highlights of their 1-hour Enduros, all part of round 1 of the AMRS as well. And Magnolia Capital on board the sponsorship for the first round here at Sydney Motorsport Park. So big shout out to the folks at Magnolia Capital.
Yeah, great to have them on board. As you mentioned, as Ellery here works towards the inside at turn number 1. We have a look back now at Jake Ellery as well in the Grand Prix Mazda 3 machine. working his way back down the main straight. So doing a nice job in this one so far as well. He's going to complete that compulsory pit stop as well. Back on board here with Tim Lay. Let's see if the balance is any better on this car as he works his way through the final 2 corners. Lay, nice! See you later, son. He loops it, and there's a concrete wall there not too far away. I think he kept off it, but Tim Lay, right when he needed the talent, he ran out of it.
He broke a talent shaft. I can't believe that, Tim. All on his own. You can see the onboard gives it away. There's nobody within QE of him. Tim, dude, just what the actual?
The man from Orange, unfortunately. Great shot on the outside here. Our crew's catching this one. And around he goes. Now he gets to the sand trap here. I tell you what, he's lucky he actually gets out of this. And it's not too bad. So Tim Lay, I mean, wow. You got to count your luck sometimes. He was lucky to get away with that one. A, not to hit the wall that's on the outside there. B, not to get stuck in the sand trap too.
That car has been a handful right throughout this event. And Ellery going, in fact, it's not Ellery, it's Ucell now in the V-Dub, having a real crack at the BMW here. Have a go, son.
It's not wrong, is it? Back on board with the Ellery machine here in the run to turn number 1. Some high speed for these cars, isn't it? The Enduro Champs machines as they work their way through turn number 1.
It has been all one-way traffic for this team right now. The Sharon Rentals BMW just looks fantastic. The guys have done a very, very smooth job of it. Ellery was very good behind the wheel, just watching that onboard shot before, but this is a bit of a lonely ride out in front. Enduro Champs, race number 2 for the weekend, round 1 of 6 of the Australian Motor Racing Series, which heads to Morgan Park Raceway in Queensland, April 16 to 18, and get across the AMRS website and Facebook page as well for all the information. Distinctive livery, distinctive situation out in front for the Sharon boys.
Marge is near enough to 30 seconds from first back to second at the moment as well. So they've done an incredible job in this BMW M4. It's a tremendous car. They've had to work on it over the years. I remember when they started bringing this car out, they had a lot of engine dramas with it and overheating issues, but they've been able to work on it throughout the time, and now this is one of the leading contenders in the Enduro Champs for season 2021. Expect him to be strong as he comes out of the final turn.
Nice job here at Sydney Motorsport Park. The Sharon boys will rock it home. That is a substantial lead, as you pointed out just then, Brian. Checkered flag at the ready, and the Beamer rips home to record victory.
Take nothing away from Grant Sharon. A tremendous drive in the Sharon Rentals BMW takes out race number 2 of the Enduro Champs at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah, definitely haven't raced for the whole 12 months. So last race was here exactly 12 months ago. So we rolled the car out of the truck last Friday and quickly got it ready and got it down here, and we had to do setup last night on it to get it where it is now. So it's handling quite well at the moment, and it's performing quite good. So fingers crossed for the next 2.
So points as it stands at the moment after the opening round of the Motorsport Sales Enduro Champs. Barrett Linton, Tim Lay, by virtue of winning the round, they're on top of the points at the moment, 112, ahead of Jake Camilleri, 108. Jerry and Lee Burgess there at the moment as well, completing the top 5 on 105 points as well. We're going to go wings and slicks racing next for you here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Welcome back to round 1 of the Australian Motor Racing Series, thanks to Magnolia Capital here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And it's time now for the Australian Formula Ford Championship, Brian, a category that is tried and true. It has unearthed some of the biggest stars in Aussie motor racing.
It certainly has. It unearths the legends of Australian motorsport. None more so this weekend than the Richards name. Stephen Richards, his son Clay Richards, is taking part for the opening round of the Australian Formula Ford Championship. Let's catch up with him though right now.
Clay Richards, pretty new to Formula Ford. How are you finding it?
Yeah, it's good. It's a really fun category. Very, very competitive, and it's a lot different to karts in the past. So yeah, no, it's great.
What have you had to get your head around most the quickest?
Definitely gear changes and also heel and towing as well. Those have been the biggest things.
And of course, you know, we see your dad Steve here and I guess grandfather Jim Richards. You've got a lot of input coming your way. Do you find that information helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's got to get all the help you can get in this series. So no, they've been great, and they've supported me throughout karting and into car racing as well. So yeah.
How exciting. His granddad's one of the all-time greats, and his dad, well, a multiple Bathurst winner, an incredible Carrera Cup racer, Stephen Richards, and one of the most affable families in terms of legendary status. Just walk up and shake their hands. They're great, great people. Cool to see Clay out here. We know that this concept has unearthed some of the greatest motorsport talent Australia has ever produced. It's kind of the grounding. You come out of karts, you go into Formula Ford, and that's where you head to the big time.
Certainly is for the opening race of the weekend. It's the Colin Hill Engineering front row with Thomas Sargent and Noah Sands, Cody Bircher and Jake Donaldson on that second row. Watch for them. We turn over the page. Kyle Evans will start from position number 11 as well. So it's going to be a tough one to get right. 17 cars nominated for this weekend. 9 of them are rookies at national level. It's getting set to go for race number 1. Great start from Sargent on the inside front row. He will lead the field into turn number 1 for the first time as the Formula Fords file into turn number 1. On board here with Noah Sands, his teammate in behind. Got the head over the shoulder through the left-hander here at turn number 1. Slipstream is going to be ever so important. It helped Thomas Sargent in qualifying to the slipstream. We'll see what it does in this opening race of the weekend.
Always the imminent risk of jumping wheels as well. These open wheel cars, very narrow tyres. They're very precise in where you put them. Later on in the weekend, if you start to wear them out, they get a little bit skatey, but this is the purest form of open wheel racing in terms of your starting point beyond karts, and it's a proven testing ground, and so many teams too are iconic. Oh, look out, and that is how easily it can happen. The 71 car just looping it in that right-hander. No harm, no foul. Let's have a look back on the onboard at Noah Sands. That's a ripper shot.
Certainly is. There was 0.6 of a second, in fact, between Sargent and Sands in the qualifying session. Now, we mentioned the slipstream. If you can stick behind that slipstream going down the main straight, you might be half a chance a little bit later on in the lap. Already, these Colin Hill Engineering cars are starting to put a little bit of a gap between themselves and the rest of the field. Keeping in mind, we've also got the Kent class here this weekend too.
That was John Pereira that unfortunately looped the 71, or half-looped the 71 in the lone Van Diemen in the field. Van Diemen. Can't remember the last time I said the word Van Diemen. Very cool to have Johnny out there. Meanwhile, out in front, tremendous race with the top 5 or 6 at this point. Of course, you have domestic competition, you have state-level racing, and then if you have the budget, you have the wherewithal, you go into the national competition, which is tuned up, of course, with the AMRS. Back on board with Sands. We pin it down low here into turn number 1. Exciting youngsters in this field. It was really cool a few years back too to see Leanne Tander return to this as well, because Tander Sport has played a big part in Formula Ford racing as well. What a battle for the lead here.
Right underneath the gearbox, isn't he, at the moment? Noah Sands, of your race leader, Thomas Sargent. Oh, he's a little bit sideways there on the change as they went through the right-hander. And there is also going to be a change here for second spot as well, possibly. So Sands stuck on the outside here. Cody Bircher in the 36 machine. The man from Orange, bit of a touch there as well. It was right rear to left front contact. And now the battle for second spot is 4 cars deep.
This is where you've got to be so careful. You get a little bit sideways, you miss a shift, and suddenly you've got cars climbing all over you. Let's look back at the replay here of Pereira, who just loops the 71, just got in a little hot and gathers it back up. Flat spot of the tyres pretty good, you'd have to imagine as well. You can just see that telltale mark on the rubber. He rejoins the field, however. This battle here is going to be a beauty. You cannot afford to make a mistake. There's 5 of them, 4 or 5 of them. Oh, look out! Big time agricultural on the main straightaway. That'll get your attention. These cars can swap ends in a heartbeat when you get out to the grass.
So Bircher here looking towards the inside now of Sands here into turn number 1. Not quite close enough this time by. He might be half a chance though as they get down into turn number 2. In this fight as well, the 35 machine just in behind of Jake Donaldson as well. Bircher now, contact between Donaldson and Sands. Sands has got the arm out the window as well. Not the window, out the cockpit I should say. Spins the car on the inside there at turn number 2, and there was heavy damage on the right front of Donaldson as well.
Yeah, Donaldson will be done for sure. You can just see him over there. Well, Sands rejoins the field. We talked about it earlier, the risk of open wheel contact, and these cars, whilst they're pretty nimble and pretty strong in some senses, when this happens, you're going to bend a component for sure. So this is where Sands gets into the corner. There's the contact right then. Oh man, even the ripple strips can do you a bit of damage if you're not careful. Noah will be dark about that, that's for sure. Here's another look at it. That was a good move to the inside. Fair bump play on here, the tyre power orange entry. But that's where Donaldson, the Draper Tools car, just tagged, as you said. Noah had his hand up like, that was great.
Yeah, so there's Jake jumping out of the 35 machine, trying to pull it in, but she's got to have arms of steel to be able to do that as well. So watching back on through the field now as well, as we ride and have a look at the number 60 machine here at the moment. Cody Donald doing a nice job there just outside and around that top 5 position right now. So Sands is going to be dark, unfortunately, as you mentioned, Wade. Jake Donaldson as well now out of this one. Keeping in mind they were both very, very strong in qualifying to start the weekend too, so a bit of disappointment for them. But of course now we're looking at this battle now for the top 5.
Round 1 of the AMRS presented by Magnolia Capital here at Sydney's Motorsport Park. And you're watching round 1 of the Australian Formula Ford Championship. This is the place where stars are made. It's where you learn your craft. It's where you learn about drafting. It's where you learn about being able to move around inside tight packs, battle packs. It's where you learn about keeping a car straight and keeping flow. And that is without a doubt a place that if you can be good in this, you can hopefully attract the attention of teams and start your international or your higher level domestic career in other forms of motor racing.
We talk about chassis in Formula Ford as well. Angelo Motorsport running the Kent class this weekend with Mitchell Gattenby. They're actually bringing a new chassis into the national category, the Spirit WL07. So a Spirit joining the likes of the Spectrum, the McGall chassis, as well as Van Diemen, to say a few. So interested, I guess, for Gattenby and for the entire team there to get an understanding as to the feel of this car and what it's going to do throughout the course of the season as well. Mitch, as we said, competing in the Kent class this weekend and leading it so far.
You need to be perfect in every other part of this racetrack because this extremely long main straightaway can be heartbreaking. If you lose a bit of ground, the top part of the racetrack, it takes forever to catch it back. These cars are extremely equal in their horsepower. It really does come back to the driver and also to the setup as well. This is a nice little battle we got rolling here as well. Gotta be careful, that would be the Shannon's Insurance 14 of Clay Richards. Without even having to check the paperwork, Shannon's Insurance have been wonderful partners with Stevie Richards and also Jim with his Targa racing and with his Porsche racing as well. Oh, is that Pereira again possibly in the 71? It is.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're back towards the rear of the field in the Kent class there for Pereira. To tell you what, it stands out, doesn't it, with the fluoro orange. But here's Thomas Sargent through the second last quarter for the final time in the Colin Hill Engineering. He's been working very, very closely with Cameron Hill, of course, the son of Colin as well. But through the final turn, down the main straight, a dominant way to start the weekend for Thomas Sargent. He won the Victorian Championship round just before this as well and continues that trend. The Victorian gets the job done in race 1 of the weekend for the Formula Fords, the Australian Formula Ford Championship at Sydney Motorsport Park. Cody Bircher, the man from Orange in the tyre power orange. Car number 36 was second spot. Jude Bargwanna and Cody Donald there completing the top 4 at the end of the opening race of the weekend for the Australian Formula Ford Championship. But let's catch up with Thomas Sargent, your winner from race number 1.
Thank you. Yeah, it's made a really good start, which always helps. Got to the lead, got a bit of a gap, and then maintained it from there. So really happy with that race.
It ended up being a clean sweep of the weekend for Thomas Sargent. 3 races, 3 race wins. He leads the championship on 61 points. Cody Bircher second on 48. Jude Bargwanna completing the top 3 on 42 points as well. Cody Donald and Noah Sands completing the top 5. And for the Kent class, Mitch Gattenby leading it on 48 points there as well. So a nice job for him. Now coming up next, we've got the fantastic Formula 3 cars, the Australian Formula 3 Championship. Believe it or not, the interesting stat for this class, their practice session was the first session in 487 days, believe it or not. It's been a long wait. Finally, the Formula 3 cars are back on track. We're looking forward to their opening round here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
The youngest rookie in the field, Ben Taylor, just turned 17. What's it like racing these Formula 3s?
They're pretty different to a go-kart. They got wings, gears, bigger tyres, you know, a whole bigger car in general. They're a lot faster than a go-kart than I'm used to, and the corner speeds are a lot quicker, and the G-forces are pretty big as well compared to a go-kart. Demandings of the car are high, you know. It takes a lot of guts to go through these corners at this speed and brake pretty much everywhere at a 50-metre board, so yeah.
An incredible job by the rookie. A 125.58 was 0.4 of a second quicker than 99 Motorsports' Ryan Astley for the opening race of the weekend. Of course, Ben Taylor, interestingly enough, he's come straight out of karts. and into Formula 3. So talk about a change in difference from karting to F3. You couldn't get almost two different ends of the spectrum, Wade Ornger.
These are thoroughbred race cars, make no mistake about that. This formula as well, if you pardon the expression, is popular throughout the world and is seen as a stepping stone towards Formula 1, Formula 3, Formula 2, etc. Jarrett Ruff on board with him, the Ruff Racing entry here on the grid at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's round one of the Australian Formula 3 Championship and a stall on the front line. That's heartbreaking. Oh, wow. Ryan Astley. Now he gets it off the line. Oh, that's heartbreaking. You put it on the front row, and he will not catch this field unless it's a safety car.
Yeah, disappointment there as well. Look at Ruff, if you don't mind. What a start here from Ruff. He started 6th on the grid. He's up to 3rd by turn 2 on the opening lap. The green machine already making his way towards the front.
These are a fantastic form of motor racing, no doubt about it, and they will haul the freight around Sydney Motorsport Park. It's a big sweeping circuit. The cars love that. Be extremely quick in a straight line, but it's here through sweeping bends where they really do glue down. The aero works very well, and Formula 3 too has produced some fantastic drivers over the years. I notice that Tim Macro still heavily involved in this sport as well. Another one of the stars of this game.
Speaking of great starts as well, Mitch Nielsen went from 4th to 1st there as well, so he made the most of that lacklustre start for Ryan Astley. So we go back on board now with Astley here as well towards the rear of the field and around the back of Corporate Hill as well, so he'll be frustrated with that start. Of course, doing such a good job after qualifying as well. We'll see how far through this field he can try and make his way.
Well, it's got some clear racetrack to charge with, that's for sure. What a beautiful day for it. Round one of the Australian Formula 3 Championship as part of the Magnolia Capital Australian Motor Racing Series, round 1 of 6. And the AMRS heads to Morgan Park in Queensland, April 16 to 18. Nice little battle looming here for the race lead.
Certainly is. They worked their way back down into turn number 2. So the 25 car of Ben Taylor, of course, started from that pole spot, now assuming position number 2 right now and trying to work on the back. So here's a replay of the start for Astley, and just look at that. Nowhere, died completely on him. And I tell you what, he was lucky not to get collected by anyone else there as well as they filed past him on the main straight.
Right at the moment in his lounge room as he watches this coverage, Ryan will be looking away from the TV going, no. Garrett Ruff.
Whoa!
That's great reflexes. He got off to a ripping start as well, so Ruff was hardly his last name on that start. It was very smooth getting around what could have been a real problem. Hey, you know what's coming on as well right now? Mitch Nielsen making a big charge as well.
Doing a great job, isn't he? Out in front at the moment, as we mentioned, from 4th to 1st, but he's got some work cut out on him now because Taylor looking towards the inside here at turn number 1. He'll get the job done as well. So Tim Macro, racing driver, goes to the lead here in the early stages. It's an opening race of the weekend. Watch that. Oh, look at that dirt on the edge of the racetrack there as well. Down under brakes. Look at the flame out the back there as well. Taylor now retakes that race lead. Nielsen now back to position number 2.
He kind of Taylor just ate him alive about halfway down the straightaway. It was almost like Nielsen missed a gear or something because he just ate him alive, not taking anything away with how quick Taylor is, but look at the way he's gapping him now as well. I wonder, just here, like drafting was superb, but that is a dramatic pass on the inside. Really picked up some speed and nailed him on the inside. They are extremely quick down that straightaway and stuck beautifully in turn 1.
Oh yeah, they certainly do stick, don't they? As we have a look now once again at Ruff here into turn number 2. Oh, is that a moment there for Taylor? I think the top of our screen. That turn number 2 looked like he just came back onto the track at a very awkward angle, which suggests that he possibly ran wide. And there he is. He's dropped a lot of time, in fact, back to Ruff there in position number 3. So Taylor giving away a strong spot up there inside the top 2. Right on board with Ruff now again around the backside of the circuit. So now all of a sudden it's on for that second spot. And forget about Nelson. He's pulled away out in front.
Just watched Roman Krumans earlier. Beautifully turned out car, the number 17. Dare I say it, even looked a little Ferrari-esque in its design. Beautifully turned out car, and Roman sitting around about the top 5 just at the moment.
It's going a bit better than what the Ferraris have at the moment in Formula 1 as well, dating back to 2020 and the season they had. So here we go. This might explain a little bit more of the story here. Taylor in front. Oh, he's got a long way off. well off the grass down there at turn number 2 and comes back just in front of Ruff, but that was a huge moment and he has thrown away a heap of time.
I was just going to say, it's going to be made to pay for that. There's no doubt about that. That's just brutal. I guess if you're going to do it, you do it where there's the most amount of runoff if you had to, but there is Crumans on board right now. Beautifully turned out 17 car. Just a perfect day for it at Sydney Motorsport Park, and cool to see Formula 3 racing still alive and rocking the house here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
So Crewman's reigning national class champion as well as in total 3-time champion of that particular class as well. He appeared to struggle a little bit in the early part of the weekend, but the pace seems to be a lot better now for that car as he works his way in amongst this battle for the top few spots as we ride back on board here with Ruff around the backside of the circuit through Corporate Hill. Now down in the tight right-hander as well. Bit of space between the two of them right now. Probably a little bit far back at the moment for that slipstream effect as they go down the main straight.
And Brian, we're talking about Ray Yu-Yang before as well with his Dallara. A fair bit of history involved in that race car.
Yeah, exactly. So he's actually driving a car that hasn't lost since 2018 because John Magro did a tremendous job in the 2019 series. A record-breaking streak of 18 races he had, believe it or not. So not quite up towards the top at the moment, that car, but certainly does have a lot of history in this category.
Have a look at this. We're talking about a very big close-in just here. Got to be careful into the final lap. Taylor's starting to come back now, Brian.
Certainly is. Out in front, though, Mitch Nielsen is doing a tremendous job. Keeping in mind, this guy's had a lot of experience even overseas towards the start and the latter end of 2019 because he competed in the LMP2 class, the Inter-Europol, the opening 2 rounds, the Asian Le Mans Series, and Taylor. Goodness me, he's had a shocker, hasn't he? Went off the road at turn number 2. Now a mistake at the hairpin, and don't tell me you stalled it as well.
Oh, and he was coming. He was absolutely on the hammer, and I think he just pushed a little too hard, and that allowed him off the hook. Well done. Consistency for Nielsen is what will do the job, but Taylor will be very disappointed because he was coming. I don't know that he would have had anything necessarily in that last half a lap, but proves you can bag up an F3 pretty well.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Ruff will come across the line and collect second in the end in that green machine, so a nice job for him. Crumans, he'll hold off that. How's Ruff? He is stoked there. He got the thumbs up and all. He is a happy man. And here's a replay of Taylor, so he's closing in on the race leader with albeit a quarter of a lap to go. Just loses the rear end of the race car. Around he goes, lights it up. Bit of yellow smoke there as well as he collects the curb. Flick spins it around and then stalls it and loses yet more time. Not doing those rear tyres any favours, that's for sure.
Oh man, you'd just be so disappointed. Let's look at your results.
So a great drive for Mitch Nielsen, gets the job done. Ruff home in second, Crumans in third, Ben Taylor and Ryan Astley in the end, completing your top 5.
No, it wasn't all smooth sailing. I missed a gear. I hit a false neutral coming onto the straight in the second lap, and Max got me down the straight. And I thought I had it all to do again, but he ran wide, and I managed to get him back, and it was just holding that gap for the rest of the race.
So by virtue of winning the feature race for the weekend, Ben Taylor got the round win on 42 points. Max Demerick, the Artec Motorsport driver, was second. Mitch Nielsen, Ryan Astley and Garrett Ruff in the end, completing the top 5 overall for the weekend. So a tremendous drive in the end for Ben Taylor after those mistakes that we saw in the opening race of the weekend. Of course, don't forget as well, the next round of the Australian Formula 3 Championship will be at Morgan Park Raceway, April 16 to 18. That's sure to shake up the field as we work our way through season 2021. Now, don't forget, coming up next, as part of the opening round of the AMRS series, we've got the 4-hour Enduro for the Prodsports and Super GT, the Under Lights Enduro.
Welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park. It's time for some blue chip red line action right now. It's the 2021 New South Wales Production Sports Super GT 4-hour Under the Stars Enduro. We are talking some thoroughbred race machinery and some superstars of asphalt racing as well.
We've got guys like Luke Yilden here, David Wall as well, just to name a few. The great thing about it though, being under the stars, we're going to start in the daylight, finish under lights as well at Sydney Motorsport Park. And Chris Pither is here as well in a wild bit of machinery.
Yeah, excited to be here, driving the Mark II Mustang with Jeff Taunton. We're, it's a bit of a beast, to be honest. I drove the original Mark I Focus back, I think it was the 2014 Bathurst 12 hour, and to have my first taste of the Mark II Mustang here has been awesome. It's a weapon of a car. This was actually brand new, this car, yesterday. First time it had the track, so we had a couple of little teething issues, but we got on top of them overnight, and today's the first day we got to have a bit of a dip, and happy.
My dad and I both done some endurance racing and under lights, and we actually raced at this circuit a few years ago when the lights actually weren't put up and it was at night time, which is quite scary with just headlights on, but it's an amazing track and facility, and I think they've done a really good job with the lighting here as well. It's great to be back with some proper racing. Hopefully we get to keep doing it. We've got some spectators here, and it's just hopefully this is getting back to normal for all of us.
I'm really excited. So it's my first time at this track this weekend. So even running under lights, it's gonna add a new dynamic to it. So I'm really excited to see what the car feels like and the change in conditions as the race goes on, going from a cold afternoon to a cold night. So I'm really excited to feel that transition and see how the car handles. We're aiming to fight for some victories in the Mark I class and hopefully try and crack the top 10. That's the goal. Whether or not it happens or not doesn't really matter. I'm here racing with my dad, so that makes it even better. Just going to be enjoyable. But yeah, finish the race and just try and have a good weekend.
Some sweet-looking race cars on the grid as they head up for their warm-up lap right now on a cracking day, which will turn into a cracking night. Brian van der Wacker. Qualifying was, well, not a surprise when you talk about the standard of driver who was able to pick up pole, but I think a lot of people thought that Barton Moore was going to be the man in that very sweet Audi, but good to see the name Yulden up there.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately for Barton Moore, just made a mistake, looped the car in the top 10 shootout session, and he will therefore start towards the back end of this top 10. Luke Yulden, though, a tremendous job in the end. A 1 minute 31.24 in the end. He was 1.8 seconds quicker than Chris Pither in position number 2. So this Mercedes-Benz AMG is hooked up to the track here at Sydney Motorsport Park and will start this 4-hour enduro from position number 1. Kylie King caught up with him a short time ago.
Luke Yulden, the pole sitter. What's it like to do that one lap dash in these cars?
It's awesome. So coming from an endurance background in V8 supercars, a co-driver never gets to do that. So to actually have a chance is awesome. I've done it at Bathurst in the 12 hour, but I tell you what, really tricky conditions because these cars don't run tyre warmers like we normally would. So to try and get it done on lap 1 is very, very tricky. So we're about a second and a half slower than in quali. But I'm just glad I kept it on the black stuff.
That's cool too. I didn't realise that you just basically go out there and have at it. There's no way of warming up. You just get after it on those fresh tyres. We are going to see some tremendous race cars out here, and some of the colour schemes, can I just say, that's like Eddie Van Halen's guitar. That thing is wild, the Lambo.
The All Racing Machine of Adrian Dietz and David Orr, they'll start this one from position number 5. So Vince Moretti and Luke Yulden will start this race from position number 1. Moretti will take control of the car in the opening portion of this race as well, because of course there's 2 drivers. Some of them electing to run 3 drivers as well. We'll talk you through that. Plenty to play out in this 4-hour race with strategy as well.
So it's going to be a rolling start here. And we go on board with the Taunton-Pither combination. Did you see that look of excitement on Chris Pither's face after he drove that magnificent Mark II before? And we're underway here. Highlights of a 4-hour Under the Stars Enduro. And straight away, it is the Mark II out to the lead. Taunton and Pither. Firing up the inside is the Audi.
Be careful, aren't they, on this opening lap, because that's the thing about an enduro race. It's 4 hours long. You don't need to be rubbing panels on the opening lap, and they were very clean and consistent through the opening few turns there as well. Nice start as well from the Stupas entry, the 23 car. We'll share that with Yasser Shahin throughout the course of this 4 hours. They've made up some spots in the opening portion of this race as well with the KFC-sponsored Audi. And already, unfortunately, just dropping back through the field in the opening stages of this race as we watch through the back end of this top 10 and some of this beautiful machinery here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Millions of dollars worth of race equipment on the track on a beautiful day for racing. Doesn't that Mark II just look magnificent? I got to say it, the car in second. Shut up and take my money. That thing there, the Lambo, that colour scheme is just wild.
It's fantastic, isn't it? And of course got some great drivers behind it as well with Dietz and David Wall. We know his experience in Australian motorsport. Great to have him here as part of the opening round of the AMRS series. And we're having a look now at your pole sitter. Luke Youlden drove at the pole. I'm already taking control in the first period of this race. So let's try and unbreak some of this strategy game for you. So what these cars have to do over the course of the 4 hours is 3 compulsory pit stops. In that compulsory pit stop, it must be 5 minutes in length. So quite a long period of time you're going to spend in the actual pit bay. So driving time is also going to be critical in this race, because the maximum time that one driver can do in the car at one time is going to be 65 minutes. The maximum time a driver can do over the course, and we've got a bit of a change for the lead here almost at the moment as well. Stupa's working on the back here of the Mark Cars Australia entry. The overall time that one driver can do throughout the whole race is 2 hours and 24 minutes, which equates to 60% of the race. So there's not much of a window or a margin for error for these drivers to get that driving time wrong.
And it's not easy for us either to spot whom is in which car at what time with this co-driver situation. There's no green light per se that we're used to seeing in, say, the Bathurst event, where you're able to immediately spot who is driving which car. Just saw nearly a change for the lead very early when this Mark II ran just a smidge wide down into turn number 2. Nice little battle looming as well for third. Nice job by Youlden, who has enormous experience in enduro racing in many different forms. Put the thing up onto pole, which was a great result. Let's look at replay of your start. Very clean, which is what you want. Sound is just fantastic.
It's great, isn't it? So we ride on board here with Marudi into turn number 2 here in this Mercedes AMG GT3. Look at Stupas, fires down the inside there at turn number 2 on this opening lap. And it's always good just to leave the door open. The Padiachi machine as well, the Porsche, one of the cars from the GWR stable. Of course, Garth Warden Racing.
That was close too. Just look how close that move up the inside by Marudi was. Pulled it off beautifully and has immediately put the pressure on your race leader. Back on board with Padiachi, the RentCorp Hyundai forklifts entry. Hard under brakes into turn 2 just here, which opens out onto that right-hander. You got to really keep the momentum up out of here. Slow in, fast out. Nice little challenge up the inside. Is there trouble for the 33 car here?
Just looking after the car in the early portion of this race, making sure that they can get to that first pit stop in the race and work their way obviously towards the end. And what you've got to try and figure out as well is that really, if you've got a 65-minute driving time for these cars, it sort of actually breaks the race up quite nicely theoretically. So what the teams will do is they'll probably pit on the 1 hour mark. That's your first compulsory pit stop. The second hour, and then the third hour, put the final driver in the car, and away you go to the finish. What will dictate a lot of that though is safety cars. If we get safety cars in this race, that will change it all up. It's good to have, of course, Garth Warden Racing, as I mentioned a moment ago, 2 cars from the GWR stable. You've got the Padiachis and also Michael Sheargold and Garth Warden. They're making their way up through the field quite early in this race as well.
The Ruse Systems Australia Gardner entry, you just saw it then, the 707. Oh, it's easy when you got that much horsepower to get a bit complacent, get on it too early, and there is the challenge for the lead. So the KFC car, I like it like that. Straight through into the race leader, and that's a nice pass.
Yes, the Stupa's there down the inside around the back of Corporate Hill, takes over the race lead now as well. We've got the lights on these cars. They'll come into full effect a little bit later on when this race goes from twilight into dark. Back on board with Marudi here as well, giving up another spot. That's the Moore entry, Barton Moore in the 99 car going down the inside there as well, the right-hander.
And we expect that from Barton. Very talented racer. Cut his teeth in Formula 3 racing many moons ago, but Barton has always been a class act in anything he's turned his hand to. You're watching highlights of a 4-hour enduro here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Man, that shot just does things to me.
2 Lamborghini Hurricanes going at it down there at the second turn. Throw into the mix as well. An Audi R8, and you've got some serious machinery there at the moment as they work their way through turn number 3. Good to have the iMac Lamborghini back in the fold as well, of course, for Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter. Have done some great stuff overseas recently as well, and good to have them here as part of the opening round of the AMRS series at Sydney Motorsport Park, presented to us by Magnolia Capital.
David Wall, Adrian Dietz, your co-driver out there at the moment. In these early stages of such a long endurance race, What are the drivers thinking? What's the mindset when you're out there at the moment?
Look, as you touched on there, it's a 4-hour race, so our mindset is just to keep building some laps up. We're 17 minutes or something in, or 20 minutes into a very long race. So for Adrian, it's just about building momentum and hopefully staying out of trouble and getting some laps under our belt.
Yeah, because you allowed him to qualify, start the race and do all those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's Adrian's car and he's doing a very good job, and he knows the car better than anyone as well. Like, this is my first event in this car, so it was great to see him qualify. It was great to make him do the top 10 and see him jump up a few spots here, and we started 5th. So far, it's pretty good. Yeah, we're running 7th and stay out of trouble and see what the race brings.
Oh, we got a spinner
look
here.
out!
I think that's one of the Garth Walden racing machines. The Padiachi entry has spun there on the exit of the hairpin. They come back onto the track. Not quite quick though, I guess you would say. So on board here with the Padiachis, and car down the inside there probably just lights it up. That's exactly what happens. Doesn't even turn the wheel. He knows he's going around. Don't want to burn the tyres either.
Just trying to get on the pedal a little extra hard to try and keep that Lambo. Or maybe he got hypnotised.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I'm struggling with it myself.
You're not wrong. So here's the Sheargold entry that I was talking about a moment ago with Garth Walden also in that Porsche. They've made a great start in this race as well, getting around the Mark Cars Australia entry, so they're charging towards the front here. A really nice start, and by all accounts, they've sort of found a bit of pace now in this car compared to what they've had over the early point of the weekend. But I'll tell you what, it's a perfect way for them to start this race. Look at this traffic. We're going to have to talk about that a fair bit in this race. Being an endurance event, being cars in different classes, you have to contend with traffic. So far, by all accounts, the drivers are saying that with the cars out on the track, all the drivers have been pretty patient and very much observant as to where cars are around particular points of the racetrack.
Well, Chris, does it get any easier being out of the car watching your teammate out there?
No, it doesn't, to be honest. It's, I get used to this being in the Supercar Endurance Racing Series as well. But, Jeff, he's doing a good job. He hasn't been in the car for about eight months. He's been out of the seat for a long time because of the challenges we all faced last year. So, combined with that, yesterday we had a little mechanical gremlin we had to get on top of. So he's had limited laps, and he's been thrown in the deep end, up the pointy end to start the race, out of second. And he's probably just finding his rhythm now, and I think looks like his times are steadily dropping. So as the tyres come up, he'll get more confident, and that's one of the great things about the Mark car. It's such a driver-friendly car for anyone like Jeff Gentleman driver, jumps in and can get to the limit in a fast car really quickly. So he's doing a great job.
Well, that's what makes it interesting, isn't it? When you've got cars of different speed and different performance properties, or just watching them pass up the inside again. So that Porsche under a lot of pressure now, and the Mark II all over the back. A little bit of a wriggle coming out of that right-hander. 4th gear, quite get to 5th. Battles everywhere here for this 4-hour under the stars enduro.
There's Garth Walden in that Porsche as well that started the car, so he's making his way up through the field early here. They have struggled though with tyre wear, so watch for that in that Porsche. See how it goes towards the back end of the stint. Meridian trying to make up some spots once again after falling back early in this Mercedes, but that's the thing about a 4-hour enduro. You can make it up. Bit of a moment here for Walden. Locks up off the edge of the racetrack. Just as we said, they've made up some spots, and we mentioned about tyre wear on this car getting towards the end of this opening stint. Maybe that tyre wear now is starting to really, really hurt them.
This is a replay from Meridi's point of view, and Garth has a lot of experience too, so that tells me that either even the best of them make a mistake like that, or he really is battling some tyre wear. Certainly locked it up getting in. He had a mirror full of the Mark II in behind him, and he just fires off and lost a stack of ground just then.
Here's Marudi as well, looking towards the inside of the Mark Cars Australia entry. Leaves the door open. Marudi will get the job done there and slot himself up yet another spot. So starting to make up from that slow start as we're back on board with the Padiachi machine here. How's the sun? That's going to be something we'll have to pay close attention to as well, because being a race that transitions from the afternoon into the night, the sun in the western sky is something they'll have to contend with.
Back on board with the 82 car. Oh, nice big switchback Not sure if it will stick, however. There is a whole lot going on early in this race. Don't the Audis look magnificent? A pair of them going after it side by side through that right-hander.
How's the sounds as well? You can pick them. That's the great thing about GT racing. You can pick the different sounds. You know you're on board with a Porsche though, with that distinctive note. Stupas here as well, trying to work his way through some of the back markers at the moment. Of course, your race leader in the early portion of this 4-hour enduro, flashing the lights as well to try and get some of the slower cars out the way, letting them know that he's coming through, and he's the man on a mission at the moment.
That's the Zingerberger effect of it right then. Just add a little bit of the flash in the back and certainly let them know this has been a very strong start for this team. It's a 4-hour enduro, so pit stops. Now, we talked about them, or we didn't get to talk about them before. It's a 5-minute window.
5 minutes, so they must sit now in the bay for 5 minutes. They'll put the hood up here at the moment. This is the Padiachi machine we're on board with at the moment, so maybe this is an unscheduled pit stop. They're going to do a driver change as well. They're just in the underbody of that car, changing tyres as well. The other interesting thing about this format for this weekend is the refueling. So they're not using the dry brake refueling system that we sometimes see. They're actually using just a standard old, nozzle, the fuel hose, I should say. They simply wind the handle to pump the fuel. So it's more of a not so much safer, but it's just an easier way to go racing, less cost effective as well. And with a dry brake refueling system, sometimes things can go wrong.
Now, we're of course showing you highlights of these pit stops, so that was a far more urgent look at a reasonably relaxed window. 5 minutes, you can achieve a whole lot of things in 5 minutes at a pit stop, so just gives you a chance to refresh and regroup.
These drivers all trying to find out when they can come into the pits, because the interesting thing is we're about the hour mark. So these drivers are getting to about lap 36, 37, extending their window, so getting to that 65 maximum driving time at any one point in this race, and then of course making a change, a driver change. So what theoretically the driving time is stopping people from doing is by doing double stints in this race.
Underdog racing. I do love that. Look out! Very quickly, the 77 forum entry just loops it in that left-hander.
Here we go, so Stupas in at the moment. They'll do a driver change here as well. They'll hand over the car. And completing this one as well. So at the moment, we're on lap 37. Yasser Shahin will step aboard this car and will take it through for the next hour of this race. So pitting on lap 37, your race leader's now in.
Haven't the Shahin family invested enormously in the sport of motor racing in this country? The Bend Motorsport Park is one of the absolute blue chip events. Here's a look back at the 77 car. Now I'm going to try Tesorero, I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly, and Papa Demetrio, that team. I'm really sorry if I've messed that up.
Matt, how would you describe that first stint?
Yeah, listen, it was good. I was very unhappy with the car yesterday, so for today we made some changes overnight, and it's back to where you can drive it, and it was actually really quite nicely in the window. So I sort of thought, you know what, the tyres had to do 2 hours. It's a bloody long time on one of those for those cars. So the Audi uses its front tyres. My old Audi used to use the rear tyres. The new one used the front tyres. So you can go in harder in the front, but you'll destroy the tyres. So I sort of set a target. I was being told by the team, yeah, you got 6 seconds, you got 9 seconds, you got 14 seconds, you got 20 seconds. And I just thought, he just said, take it a bit easier, so we just buttoned off a bit. All I am now is I want to go and have to sit down. I want to actually put some deep heat on my back, and that's it. So it was good. That was good.
I just can't stop thinking about Eddie Van Halen's guitar as that
right.
Lambo. I'm sure that's not the point, but it looks mint. Now in comes the Walden Sheargold 45 car, the Porsche. It's a little busy inside the pits right now.
It is at the moment, so the Wall Dietz entry. Dietz started the car, pitting now on lap 37, handing it over as well. David Wall there on screen.
I was going to say, that is absolutely David Wall. His dad too, I remember greatly, his dad did an amazing job for motor racing back in the day. Had that very cool Corvette that he used to race, and I'm sure that Des is as missed today as he ever was. A wonderful racing family, the Walls, and always good to see David still out there wheeling it.
So Luke Hilton about to step in this car. Marudi is going to jump out, just trying to get the harness undone there as well, unplugging the drinks cord too and the radio. And that's the other thing. With these longer pit stops, it gives these drivers time to do their pit stops and their compulsory pit stops and the driver change done safely, because sometimes there can be some finger trouble, and when the car goes back out on the racetrack, you know sometimes that things can go wrong.
Got time to take your time. The Mark Cars entry. Yulden's going to step the intensity up, and having said that, Maruti's done a fantastic job, so no flies on him at all. But certainly you'd have to think the man that set pole, Luke Yulden, is going to be quite the explosive situation in this race. Oh, Pagliacci had to pull up because the KFC car looped it. Fresh tyres?
Yep, fresh tyres, cold mind as well sometimes. So this is on board from Pagliacci's view here, down into turn number 2. So they've just done the driver change, of course, and as you mentioned, Wade, cold tyres. Round she goes. Oh, tell you what, the Pagliacci's did a nice job there of getting through that.
That's a KFC drive-through right there for the Hyundai Forklifts entry. Wasn't expecting that, you have to say. It's going to change things up just a little in our 4-hour Under the Stars Enduro. The wave out. This is Pither. I'm just looking at the helmet already, that Mark Cars entry. We'll take a break. Come back very soon to Sydney Motorsport Park. Listen to that sound. We're back to Sydney Motorsport Park. It's round 1 of the Australian Motor Racing Series, and this is the blue chip red line event of it all. The 2021 New South Wales Production Sports Super GT 4-hour Under the Stars Enduro. We were just riding on board just then with the Wilson Nader Sewell BP Horsley Park BMW as it ranges up behind the sheer gold Walden Porsche. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're making some big progress.
It's been a good race so far, plenty going on in this 4 hours you would come to expect. Luke Yulden now behind the wheel of the 33 AMG Mercedes, doing a nice job at the moment as well. Back on board with Pagliacci's too. Plenty going on in the steering wheel there, having to work that race car in the early stages.
Busy behind the wheel. It's been a pretty intense 4-hour enduro, got to be said. Everybody working through their respective changes in their pit stops, that 5-minute window that everybody has. You can just see how bright that sunshine is coming in. Lamborghini v Audi, and the Lambo beautifully around the outside.
Yeah, nice change there. Now the complete running order as it stands though. Oh, look at this little pass down the inside there of Shaheen getting underneath some of the lap traffic. So the order as it stands, Shaheen leading the race, taking over control from Matt Stupas. He's currently leading this race at the moment from this car, Luke Yulden, in position number 2. So plenty going on, and that's actually a change now for that second spot. Barton Moore entry going back now to 3rd.
Yeah, the Kelly Barton Moore combination, the Industry Racing number 99. Here's the replay. Copybook. Not his first rodeo, Luke Yulden. Super smooth in the Mercedes. Wheels it in. Man, that thing must be fun to drive. Remember when that particular car came onto the Australian motor racing scene and everyone just dropped their jaws. Pither and Taunton. You can see Chris Pither, the expat Kiwi. Started off his career in Australia in V8 Utes. Of course, doing a very nice job in the Coca-Cola supercar side of things, but you just saw the look of excitement in his face at the start of our coverage when he got to drive the Mark II. We check out Shaheen now in the KFC number 23, or the Shaheen car, I should say.
It was a great opening stint, wasn't it, from Matt Stupas, but as we mentioned, Shaheen taking control now. Plenty of experience in this car as well, taking it towards the front of this race. Back on board here with this Mark Cars Australia entry. Looks towards the inside here and gets the job done. So moving up yet another spot and making the most of it as well. Here is Luke Yulden again. He's trying to charge down your race leader as well. Down the inside of the Pagliacci Garth Water Racing Porsche as well.
It's interesting to note too, when we saw that pit stop before, Brian, that Chris Pither wasn't getting out of the car, and we don't have to do driver changes in that car. So we actually stayed in during that pit stop. Just watching the Lamborghini working its way out of that left-hander. These guys have been super consistent so far. That is the 6th entry of Dietz and Wall, the Huracan. And it's been a pretty solid job, man. If I had a lap for $1 for every lap that David Wall had done around this joint, we'd all be able to go and spend an overseas holiday. Up the inside on the 20 car is the iMac Lamborghini through turn 2.
So just going back, we mentioned that pit stop a moment ago for the Taunton Pither entry. I think that was a bit of an unscheduled pit stop because the time they didn't actually spend 5 minutes in the lane, and they only did near enough to 10 odd laps in that stint, which is nowhere near long enough. So I think that was a little unscheduled pit stop, possibly something wrong with the machine. They're back out there though now.
Here's the Gillison Hargraves entry, the local search direct wave entry. That's the body language I'm just checking on there at the moment as the Barton Moore 99 rolls back out.
So second round of pit stops here at the moment. We're about on the half race distance mark, around about lap 75 at the moment. So these drivers and teams all working towards a number, pitting as we mentioned on that hour mark, trying to split this race up evenly. And now it's going to be very important because now they're going to have to work their way towards the end.
Barton, what's the verdict on the stint after that last one?
Oh, to be honest, we're a bit disappointed. We deliberately double stinted the tyres, and as soon as I went out I was really struggling for grip and we just lost a lot of pace. So while we were aiming for me to do a longer stint, we had to come in early than we wanted. We still keep in the window we need to be, but we're struggling for pace a bit then, which really surprised us. Normally the Audi's really strong, but we might have just taken a bit too much out of the tyres in the first stint, and then we really suffered then.
Endurance racing, anything can happen, huh?
Oh yeah, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, and it's turning out to be a really great battle, and unbelievably, touch wood, no safety cars so far, and you're right, this is really turning out to be a tough endurance race.
And I guess the best part about it, with there's different manufacturers involved, different strengths and weaknesses.
Oh, absolutely, you see it out there with the cars, and even they ebb and flow as the tyre life goes off and the fuel load changes. It's lots of variety.
So Barton Moore there just stepping out of the race car, handing it back over now to Kelly. So right on board here at the moment with the Mark Cars Australia entry, looking down the inside here at turn number 1. Can't quite get that spot there either.
I was just about to say that looked a little too easy, but then all of a sudden the KFC Audi was back in there to make sure it wasn't that easy. So Barton Moore saying they actually came in earlier than they had planned, and Chris Pither coming in now too. So it'll be interesting to see if we can find out what the go is with his earlier pit stop.
It was unscheduled, so Pither now coming back into the lane here as well. This is now their scheduled 5-minute pit stop, so Pither will jump out of the car, hand it back over here as well as we work towards that 2-hour mark. So Dietz now in the car as well for this number 6 Wall Racing machine. There's David Wall on screen. He's handing it back over. It's been a nice run for them so far. So let's try and find out and break down what's actually happened there for Chris Pither with that unscheduled pit stop earlier.
Chris, anytime you get out of a race car and you're grinning from ear to ear, you know something's going right.
Yeah, that was exciting actually. Like I mentioned earlier on, we didn't get many laps on Friday. First time driving the car, brand new car this weekend. And doing a stint like that in the race, I finally got to sort of just chip away gradually and learn the car. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had some good pace there. Still not quite as quick as a couple of the GT3 cars at the pointy end, but we're getting there. We've got different strengths and weaknesses to them, so it's quite interesting. The lap time's quite similar, but definitely can't carry the speed through turn 1 that they can. They have more downforce than us. But then we're quite strong in the low speed, so it's a bit of give and take. Unfortunately, I had a good crack at passing Yasser in the KFC Audi, but I couldn't get by, and unfortunately we got stop go time penalty there for a little bit of fuel spilt during that stop. So we're not in the best position, but we've got a fast car, and we're moving forward and having a whole lot of fun.
So Pither just jumped out of the car there, answers our questions as to why he came in a moment ago as well with that stop-go penalty. So Luke Yilden out of the car, Vince Maridi back in it now as well.
All right, mate, you good? You good? Drinks in? Have a drink?
Bit of discussion going on there as well.
It's nice when someone cares if you've had a drink, isn't it?
You're not wrong. So yours just stepped out of the car.
Interesting too with Pither's comments too about where the strengths and weaknesses are of that car compared to some of the other GT3 cars. Luke Yilden, however, is a solid prospect in any environment. Right now, let's find out how the day's been tracking for him so far.
Well, Luke, consistently in that top three, I guess, for the entire race. Your stint made up a little bit of ground there.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a margin to make up. We actually double stinted those tyres, so those tyres are the ones at the start of the race, which I tell you, around this place, it's a nightmare. So I'm looking forward. I've got some green tyres to go on next, so I can't wait to get back in.
Yes, and that's when it will be twilight racing at its best.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Actually, I've done some track days here under lights, and it's just like driving in the day, almost. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it.
And the endurance race, it's how would you describe having to pace yourselves in a race like this?
Yeah, it's not so much probably pacing the driver, it's pacing for the tyre deck. This place is just the worst track in the country for tyre deck, so just trying to manage that is the hardest thing. I mean, these cars got a lot of power, a lot of downforce, so you really lean on the tyre, and when you start to lose it, you just got to try and peg it back and maintain consistent times, and I think we managed to do it. It's hard work out there, trust me. I don't think the steering was ever straight. So it's Tokyo Drift around the whole place for 40 laps.
Just listen to that sound. You can see conditions. We've got into the twilight section of this 4-hour enduro. Gorgeous looking sky and some mint looking race cars underneath. And this is really the last few laps, the last hour in particular, has changed the shape of this race considerably. I love the excitement in Luke Yulton's face after all these years. I can't wait to get out on green tyres.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we've just passed the halfway mark, getting ourselves closer to that final round of pit stops as well. And that's going to be the fascinating point in this race, with Adrian Dietz now back behind the wheel. And of course the Mark Cars Australia bringing a great contingency to this opening round of the AMRS Series.
Magnolia Capital bringing us the first round. Well, 3 wide, thank you very much. And nice work just to get away on that right-hand side to allow those true safe passage. The lights here are fantastic at Sydney Motorsport Park, but these cars already, I love the unique style of headlights. It's almost like a bit of bling that you can bring to the deal as well. Side by side, Audi versus Mark, and the Audi pulls through very nicely.
Yep, good job there, moving up through the field and trying to make amends of what's going to be a difficult race to get right. Of course, the Zalua Perez entry there, the number 63 car, as we have a look at the iMac Lamborghini of the McPherson Porter machine. Back into turn number 2 here as well. As I mentioned, they've done some great racing as of late. Competed overseas just recently as well, a few years ago.
Uh-oh, trouble here.
Oh, no.
The 77 entry had a spin earlier on, and things are not any better for Tesorio. I hope I've said that correctly. And Papa Dimitrio. And the 77 Audi just backing up to get out of the racing line. Rejoining the circuit now, so hopefully that was just a bit of a moment and everything's okay. Coming out of turn 2 by the look of it.
Just finishing my point on McPherson Porter entry, so the 2019 GT World Challenge Asia AM Class Champions. So some great stuff they've done there recently as well, before the worldwide pandemic put a stop to a lot of overseas racing. Oh, moment there, and that's the Padiachi machine that we're on board with. The Porsche has made contact with one of the Mark Cars Australia.
Oh, no!
Oh, that's caught at a very awkward point of the racetrack. Now, we're approaching about 70 minutes to go in this race. If that car doesn't get going, strategy's going to get thrown out the window with this particular safety car. So this is fascinating. Remember the number I gave you at the start of the race. 65 minutes is the most that any one driver can do in the car in this race. We've got about 70 minutes to go. What do you do now with your driver in the car?
I got to say, like the great Mick Malloy, I put it to you, Brian. What are the chances that that will happen in an event like that?
Yeah, exactly. The one safety car that we've had in this race, and it could not have come at a more awkward time in this 4-hour enduro. We're riding on board here. The Porsche locks up at the last minute and tags the left rear quarter panel of that Mark Cars entry. And there it is. It's like it's beached on top or caught there on something and can't actually get the traction back onto the racetrack. This is why I cannot stress to you how critical this is now in terms of strategy. Because it's such a headache now for these teams to know what to do when you've got literally 70 minutes of this race to go, but you can have your driver in there for only 65 minutes. So you're 5 minutes out. What do you do? When do you pit? Keeping in mind, you've still got a 5-minute compulsory pit stop that you've got to do. So do you pit now underneath the safety car, complete your 5 minutes, and then maybe just do a little splash and dash, not so much a splash and dash, but just a driver change to then get your driver home.
Oh, this is just heartbreaking for the 20 car. This team has been pretty solid throughout the course of the day, the Hargraves and Gillison team. And that local search entry ends up on the tilt tray, just they can get it off the crest of the racetrack.
This was the car that we saw a moment ago involved in that incident, the Gulf War Racing.
Did you hear that audio just then? The Padiachi team just coming in. They had the fire extinguisher ready to go just if there was a problem, but...
So, interested to note, I saw there a moment ago in shot, the number 6 Lamborghini is in the lane, so that's the Dietz Wall entry. So it'll be Dietz that will step out of the car, Wall back in. Lap 95 here for these guys. Still a long way in this race to go. Bit of a pat on the back there as well. Look at the damage on the rear end of this car here.
As a result of that incident earlier on, we'll just race tape it. Thank God for race tape. Doesn't matter how expensive your car is, race tape fixes every manufacturer, every model without prejudice.
You're not wrong. Maybe they should use that in some real-life surgery in real life for us humans. You never know.
Well, Adam, some running repairs. What's happened?
I had a contact in the rear on turn 2, and it's the diffuser headed under the car and had 2 wheels off the ground, so I was grounded.
That's not the spirit of the game, but anyway, you've managed to bring her in.
Thank God, yeah, because we were doing all right, so it's good to get back out there again with Dan, so yeah, the race continues.
So plenty going on in this race at the moment. Matt Stupas, Yasser Shahin, the leaders at the moment. The Dietz Wall entry has just pitted from second place, so plenty to play out in the final hour of this 4-hour enduro under the stars at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park, and watch this. We're about to go racing in the final hour of this 4-hour enduro, and 2 cars immediately go straight into pit lane, Brian.
Yeah, some of our back markers there, so they won't have an impact on our leaders of the race. So lap 99, lap 100, a pivotal point in this race as the Stupas Shahin entry continues to lead the way with this Moore entry sitting in position number 2 at the moment.
There's that throaty rumble of the Mercedes. Beautiful time of the night for motor racing, isn't it too? Just a dream situation. Take away the fact they've been out there for 3 hours. That's not the point. Third gear, smooth on the throttle, over the crest and drop down. Almost get to 4th. Adrian Dietz has been a solid soldier here today so far. Kylie's in the pits to catch up with him now.
Adrian, you've got David Wall looking in a great position at this stage. I know there's still plenty more racing to come, but for yourself, you really got yourself into it in the end.
Yeah, I struggled a little or a lot in the first stint. The car was very taily, wasn't really handling the greasy conditions in my hands very well, but David really got us back in the race with his second stint. He drove an outstanding second stint on really worn tyres and just did a great job. He's out there on new tyres now, and hopefully he can run to the end and defend from Luke and the other quick guys.
It looked like you really fell into yourself once the sun set and the conditions improved, I guess, for you.
The track just gripped up once the sun went down, and it was really good. It was a great experience driving under lights here.
Good to catch up there with Adrian Dietz, and interesting that they're going to try and go to the end here on their driving time with David Wall now back in the car. We'll follow that one closely for you as the cars follow their way through turns 4 and 5. And here is your race leader at the moment. They're yet to make their final 5-minute compulsory pit stop. That is key, so they're going to have to give up this lead at some point in this race. We ride back on board with, looks like Chris Pither there in the Mark Cars Australia entry.
That KFC Audi has just been a model of consistency, hasn't it, right from the get-go. A couple of minor little incidents, but nothing really to speak of. Headlights ablaze. We just watched the Walden Sheargold entry starting to charge back through as well. It's been lively, the Porsche. Look at this little battle pack. fourth gear, third gear. Just keep that momentum up. What a magnificent time of the day. Oh, running wide. The Mercedes has gone wide. Now it's the Mark II up against it in a straight line, and very clean move in the end.
Marudi's still in that car at the moment as well before handing it back over to Luke Gilden for the end of this race. So looking now back at your race lead, then McPherson, Porter entry just in behind here at the moment as well. The iMac Lamborghini almost giving him a push here going down the main straight. Headlights ablaze. It's great action here under the stars, under the lights at Sydney Motorsport Park. Back down into turn number 1 and 2. It's Audi v Lamborghini here at the moment that we're watching. Still plenty to play out though. And here's David Wall now back in this car.
Oh, jeez. He had a big look just then at the Audi. This is a great battle. You're watching highlights of the final hour of this 4 hour.
And this is a battle for the lead at the moment as well. So Wall having a look here, having a lunge. We'll try and get down the inside here at the moment as well. Remember, pit stop still pivotal at the moment as well. Actually, probably correct myself. Because Wall actually did that pit stop a few laps ago, he's probably getting a lap back actually. Because this Stupas car really is still like 5 minutes ahead of that car at the moment.
Really, the Lambo has been under the radar a fair bit. We really haven't seen it contending for outright lead honours like this prior till now. So these guys have really come on. Dietz and Wall. And this is a very clean pass up the inside for the lead.
Yes, that's all about trying to get a lap back on them at the moment.
Oh, my goodness.
Fire down here at the moment in the pits. Big drama there as well.
Wow.
I believe it was probably a fuel spillage, and from what I'm hearing, it went onto the brake caliper. Look at the smoke down there in the pits. It went on the brake caliper and therefore has ignited the fuel.
And the Valmont Racing entry, and those guys, I got to say, it had been on fire most of the day, but not in a literal sense like that. That's devastating this late in the race. And this battle continues to rage right here.
Battle of the Lambos, isn't it? As they work their way out of the hairpin section. Here's a replay. Look at that on the right-hand side of this car, and it goes up big time. Good work there by the team to put that fire out. Interesting story with this Marcel Zalua-Sergio Perez combination. In fact, I'll get back to that because this is a pivotal point in this race. Lap 112, your race leaders, as we called, coming into the pits to complete their final 5-minute compulsory pit stop, giving away what was a huge lead over car number 6 with the Dietz Wall entry. They were a couple laps in front, but this is now going to put them right back behind now and probably coming really out, you would say, in the battle for second or possibly even third.
For our race leaders, Matt Stoopman, the safety car, not the best time for you guys.
It actually cost us 40 seconds. So if we didn't have that safety car, I would have been comfortable to say to you, barring problems, we'd almost come home first. But listen, at the end of the day, we're still leading. We've got Dave Wall out there, we've got Luke Gilden out there, and there's a couple other pros out there. So, hey, it's an hour to go. Let's just see if there's one more safety car can help us because we've got gaps. But listen, if we're on the podium, I'd be reasonably happy. To win, I'd be really happy.
And the racing at night, how'd you find it?
This place is amazing. I don't drive in it. That's the first time we've driven in the dark. And it's so well lit. There's a couple of spots where I sort of misjudged a couple of times, which sort of annoyed me a bit because you're in traffic and then suddenly you lose your eye and your sight and your memory of where you are. That's sort of in the back area. I think I call it 5, 6 and 7 going up the hill. But all in all, yeah, it's good. It's nice. Just bang out sort of, he said go and do 33s. First thing he said do 34s. We'll go and do what you're told. It's good.
Interesting to see how that pans out. Now, interesting to note here, the Zalua entry that we saw have this fire a moment ago in the pits is back out there on the racetrack, which is good to see. Here's the Dietz Wall entry. Now, effectively, your race leaders, but still a question mark around their driving time. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out. As they've got the Martin Moore entry, the Audi in front at the moment, as the 33 driven by Luke Gilden at the moment is working on the back of that Audi.
That's massive that the Zalua team was able to come straight back out because that thing was seriously in some struggle city situation in the pits earlier, that massive fire, but clearly it didn't have a great effect. Oh, the industry racing entry under a lot of pressure here. There's the pass.
There's the pass, and that is a pass for third position as well. So the 33 car now jumping up into position number 3 here. The next one on his hit list is going to be the 51 Lamborghini. This is the third time we've seen the 77 car that's gone around just in front of our leader there at the moment. Well, not our, what was previous leader, I should say, in this race. As we're right on board now once again with Yulden here. So what I was saying a moment ago, they're now up into position number 3. They've got the iMac Lamborghini. They've got Thurston and Porter in front in second, and then the ultimate leaders at the moment of Dietz and Wall in that Lamborghini leading this race. So it's Lamborghini 1 and 2 as it stands at the moment.
Oh, this is inopportune. Wow. That could have been really ugly getting down into turn 1 just then. A slower car. Walden had to peel out on that right-hand side of the Porsche to avoid some contact.
Crazy, wasn't it? Speaking of crazy, Luke Yulden is making his way up through this field at the moment. And look at this. This is in fact with minimal time left in this race. We spoke about the driver time, and this has burnt your race leader. So David Wall is having to step out of that car simply because they were going to go over their driving time in the latter half of this race. Here's a number for you. They were going to go over their driving time by about 23 seconds. And therefore, in the last lap of this race, it's handed the lead back now to the 33 car of Luke Yulden.
Incredible that you can be racing for 4 hours and have drama in the last lap that ultimately decides the race for you. That is incredible to think. Look at the sparks coming off that left front corner as well. But these guys have timed their run beautifully.
Certainly have, and by pitting under safety car, getting that 5-minute compulsory pit stop done, and then pitting a short time after for a simple, shorter stop with a driver change, that is ultimately what's put them in the race lead. And that's actually what has burnt the Stupas entry, because they didn't pit under safety car, therefore didn't clear their 5 minutes and had to do a 5-minute pit stop under green flag conditions, and that's what has proven different, and that has been the changing point in this race in the final hour.
The perfect auto body entry with the perfect race strategy. Pole position, they sort of swam under the radar a little bit early, but just came on beautifully in the end. Strategies were critical. Not for this team. They did a fantastic job.
Certainly have through the final turn. It's been a dramatic 4 hours, but Luke Yulden and Vince Maruti will get the job done in the 4-hour Under the Stars Enduro at Sydney Motorsport Park. They played this race to perfection with a capital P. The team are absolutely thrilled, as of course you would be. What a dramatic race in the end. The final car's about to come across the start-finish line, but at the end of what was a dramatic race, to say the least, the Yulden and Maruti entry get the job done at Sydney Motorsport Park. Dietz and Wall in position number 2, and Stupas and Shaheen in the end, ending out the top 3. And there's the reaction from the team.
Big effort, wasn't it? There was certainly enough drama in that 4-hour period. A twilight concept. I really like the idea of it. Beautiful conditions here throughout the day, and that team really did deserve the end result. Yulden, super consistent. Let's face it, if you're going to put a guy in the car with you, that's the guy you're going to do.
Luke, Vince, what an outcome. Congratulations.
Thanks. I thought we were settling for second there. I don't know what happened with the guys up ahead. I knew there was something funny in the pit stops, but mate, awesome job by this guy. Car was great. I had to rag it to get there, and it was good fun.
Yeah, what about you, Vince?
Look, I think it was great to have Luke with me, and he did an awesome job for the day and the stints. What I lost out, he made up in the background, but yeah, we couldn't work out what happened with the pit stop, but they had to do another stop, so hence we couldn't, so we were happy. We sort of kept it nice and tidy and on the black road, and yeah, it was good.
Only just, Vince.
What was it like? How much were you pushing it there in the end?
I was pushing, like I was doing 29s at the start of the stint just to try and make up the ground, and I think I hurt the tyres a bit, but got to try and see what happens. It's getting cooler, obviously, and I don't know, the car sort of was good at the start and sort of evened out through the middle, and it was pretty ordinary at the end.
And the verdict on night racing, boys?
Look, love it. It was good fun. Really a great experience. It's a lovely track to have it and have the lights.
Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful. It's you don't even think it's night. It's lit up extremely well. They've done a great job.
What a mighty effort. Congratulations.
Thanks, Collie.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, it's been brilliant to race under lights as part of the opening round of the Magnolia Capital Australian Motor Racing Series at Sydney Motorsport Park. Don't forget, the next round of the series will be happening at Morgan Park Raceway in Queensland on April 16 to 18. Until then, it's bye for now.